Hello, Avi. Pedro at Large here. Um, I really wanted to reply to you personally about the council, the YouTube Community Council. And we, of course, know a lot about councils in England because my house is in the area of a parish council, and the parish council is in the area of the district council, and the district council is an area of the county council. And the county council is just part of England. But so we know a lot about councils, and I was intrigued by what you were saying because I always admire the thoroughness with which you go into things, and of course yes, I mean there are areas of question marks and so on. Just on a very simple point, Tom told me that there were 3 Americans, 1 Australian and 1 Canadian on the council, and he told you that there were 4 Americans and 1 Canadian. Now, the point I was raising was, I think, one which would concern a number of us, which is, where is the international representation on such a body? YouTube is worldwide. And I asked a simple question, and I ask it again. How many YouTube users are in the United States? How many in Canada? How many in Southern America? How many in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Asia, Africa, Southern Africa? How many in Europe? How many in the UK? I think that YouTube should be able to get those figures, and that should give them an indication, perhaps, of which areas would require some form of representation. I suppose their argument about representation would be, well, as we don't tax you, then other than with the occasional technical challenge, as we don't tax you, there's no need for any representation. But I was also thinking about something else, Avi. It was advice that was given in yes, and it was this. After Jesus had died and been resurrected and gone back to heaven, his followers were going around, and a lot of amazing things were happening. There were miracles and so forth. And suffice it to say, the ruling authorities in Jerusalem, the Sanhedrin, looking after all the Jewish affairs in Jerusalem, were very unhappy with this, and they brought the men in. And really they wanted to put them into prison, or worse. But there was a man amongst them called Gamaliel, and he had a tremendous reputation as a teacher in Israel. And he asked for the prisoners to be put outside, and what he said to the council went along these lines. Look, you know that we've had people before claim to be this, claim to be great leaders, leading a revolution, and they were doing this, they were doing that, but it all came to nothing. They all came to grief. They didn't succeed. And my advice is this: don't mess with these guys, because if it's of man what they're doing, if it hasn't any real substance to it, it'll just fade away, like these other people have faded away. But if what they do succeeds, you could find yourself fighting God. That's not a good place to be. Now, my thinking about this and how it relates to our situation on YouTube is this. I found Gamaliel's advice very useful throughout my life, and certainly throughout my business life. That sometimes I found it better to let things run, because if an idea is good, I, generally speaking, found that it gathered a momentum and it worked. But if it wasn't a good idea, or even if the motives were wrong in getting it started, I discovered that these ideas sort of fizzled out, and or their flaws became rapidly apparent. Now, I guess I think it's fair for Tom to say we're dealing with a corporation, that is what we would say still wet behind the ears. It's barely been born, it's only 2 years old. And although that may be long in the terms of cyberspace, I just would counsel that those of us who have question marks about the council and queries like you have, like I have, and like others I've seen, that perhaps the best way forward for us at the moment would be to say, okay, we've said our piece at the beginning, now let's sit back and see how it works out in practice and judge it by the fruit of what comes. Because if it's a good idea, there will be good fruit and we'll all benefit from it. And if it's a rotten idea, then I'm certainly convinced enough of, for example, Tom's integrity to put his hand up and say, hey fellas, this is not working. We need to think of something else or just drop the idea altogether. So that's how I feel about it. I did feel I was just going to start this video with just perhaps an invitation for you to get under your desk. Just in case, but I'm hoping that everything is okay. So please keep smiling and just, I don't know, I just like, your response to what I've said. Do you think it's a fair line of approach? I'm not talking about appeasement. Goodness me, we learnt the problems of that in Britain long ago. But I am talking about maybe just let's take our foot off the gas pedal and let it coast a while and see what happens. And well, that's it. Avi, have a great day. Bye-bye.